Hi everyone, and back again now that the films are starting to get back in the pipeline, and today I'm going to look at A Star is Born. So we're going to do our usual thing. Should you go see the film and should you see it in the cinema? And then we'll talk a little bit about the film and then we'll have spoilers. So the first thing is A Star is Born. Not really my typical kind of film. I mean, I'm quite agnostic. I see everything as much as I can, but nevertheless, when you're choosing, it might not be the first film that I would choose, but the buzz has been so great, and with an eye on what is going to be the kind of films discussed for Oscars and Golden Globes and such, I thought I'd better check this out, and I really enjoyed it. This is a really good film. This is kind of classic Hollywood. You could go see this film with your grandmother and with your teenager. Really goes the gamut, and just real old school entertaining melodrama. I really liked it. I think you should definitely see it in the cinema. It's got incredible sound, and I do think if you want, it's the kind of film which people are going to be talking about, so you probably want to see it. If it's not your cup of tea, this might be one of those films you might check out in a year from now on cable and go, wow, this is really entertaining. Okay, I'm going to be back and we'll discuss it a little bit more. Okay, so let's get into this film. So this is quite unique in the sense that we really have a million sequels now and all these big comic book families and the MCU. But this is slightly different in that this is a story which has been told, depending on how you look at it, numerous times, 4 at least. And then there's some argument about some silent films. But definitely in 1937, there was a very early rendition of this film, and then the famous 54 version, which is Judy Garland and James Mason, and probably that became more the standard one because of there was some mirroring of Judy Garland's personal life. And then 76 we had Chris Christopherson and Barbra Streisand. And it's hard to remember now how big a star Barbra Streisand was at that time. So you really had a big pairing there. But that film was just seen as generally good, not great. So we go all the way to 2018. It's a long gap. And this is a unique film in a couple of respects. One is it's interesting to retell a story which everyone knows. I mean, that plot is kind of like in your DNA when you're born now. Then the second thing is Bradley Cooper makes his directing debut, and it's an interesting choice to be the star but also be the director, and he's also the producer. And then you also have the third point, which is Lady Gaga makes her lead acting debut. I mean, she has done a few things, and if you've ever seen any of her music videos, she's very much an actress. She was on American Horror Story, but she's carrying the film. The other big thing is that crosses your mind is, why would you want to do this story now? What's the benefit? If everyone knows the plot and everyone knows kind of what happens, why would you want to retell it? So Bradley Cooper has come up with a little bit of a twist, which really comes out in the first part of the film. The second scene, he starts to talk about authenticity of an artist. And so what the film becomes is, in the other incarnation, it's always an older male with power, slowly goes crazy, alcoholic, whatever, and the ingenue who he has made a star, he falls out of love out of jealousy. In this one, it's a little bit different. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's not so much a jealousy thing. There are bits of that, but it's about him wanting to maintain or help a young artist maintain their authenticity and not succumb to just the vagaries of the star machine, which he has seen close-hand, which he's paid for in numerous ways. So it's interesting kind of take on it, and let's be clear, it really works. Bradley Cooper makes very strong debut. I mean, this guy can direct. I think he's got a long career as a director. He might become one of those kind of Clint Eastwood types who, you know, acts. He's obviously a very good leading man, and is able to do maybe both sides of the camera. His acting in this is Jackson Maine, very good. Completely different way he speaks. He sings, which, you know, these people, you really hate them in a little bit. He does guitar. If he's actually playing that guitar in that scene, really I just hate him, because it's not fair to be that good looking, to be able to sing, to act, multi-millionaire, now directing. It's too much. And the same on the other side, Lady Gaga, pop icon, and now, you know, she really makes a strong debut. If anyone steals the film, it's Lady Gaga, because I think we've seen it so many times where a singer tries to act and they just cannot do it. Now, the number one thing is with a love story, I'll just get this out of the way, you got to have chemistry, and especially with this story, because if you don't have chemistry, so much of it is just a two-hander between the two, and you've got to buy that they're in a relationship, and they kill it. I mean, really, I like Lady Gaga, but she is radiating charisma off the screen and very sexy, and so you totally buy this incredibly physical relationship and the you know, just the love and also the giddiness of the early stages. The first 40 minutes of this film is almost perfect. I mean, it's really, really good. The sound editing and the way, because it's like a concert movie meets this kind of melodrama. It's a hard kind of balancing mix, and it starts to go a little bit askew, I'd say about a third of the way into the second act. Maybe because he's a debut director, he probably didn't want to cut out too much, but it goes too long and it loses a bit of momentum and it loses a little bit of direction about what it's trying to say about stardom. But overall, it then brings it all back. Very strong third act. And the music throughout is really, really good. I'm not a big music guy, but you know, you really can tell that these people have put together the kinds of songs these people would sing. It's really good. Now let's quickly knock off the rest of the ensemble. So Sam Elliott plays his brother, really, really good acting. And there's one scene, it's arguable what is the best scene in the film, but there is a scene between Sam Elliott and Brad Cooper in a truck. I'll just say that. And it's beautiful two-hand acting. It's great. The other really, really great scene is very early on in the film. He invites Lady Gaga up on stage, and within that 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you see her go from, yeah, maybe she can sing, to this girl's going to be a star. It's hard to do. I mean, she's singing. She's not giving a big speech or anything. It's really, really well done. And Bradley Cooper, I think, does a very good job of directing, a little bit claustrophobic. He really likes close-ups, and it's very rare that the film breaks out wide, and, you know, it's interesting how he does that. The other guy who was a revelation in this film is Andrew Dice Clay, and he plays Lady Gaga's father. And the reason why I say that is it took me maybe half the film to go, I know that guy, who is it? And that's a real achievement, because Andrew Dice Clay, I was a big fan of his a long time ago, very politically incorrect comic. And I quite liked him in those days when I was of a similar probable age. But he'd kind of disappeared for a while, and I think he played it really well. And the other three people who were up for that role, I found this really interesting, were De Niro, Travolta, and who was it? Oh God, John Turturro. Now, the interesting thing is those three are great actors in their own different way, but I think it was a very clever decision by Cooper, because if you put any of those guys in, the whole tone of those interactions changes. Because you kind of weren't sure who this guy was, it made it really work. That's a really good little part of the movie. Okay, look, I think that's enough about that. We're going to come back in spoilers and we'll finish the review. Okay, I'm not going to talk for too long in spoilers because although if you're watching this, please, I'm assuming you've seen the film because I'm going to wreck the film right now. And that is, there is only one huge spoiler, and the spoiler is that at the end of the film, Bradley Cooper's character, Jackson Maine, kills himself. And the reason why that works, I think, in this film is because normally when suicide is depicted in a film, there's an incredible, it normally is the inciting event. So someone commits suicide and then we see a film about the survivors, or it's done in flashback, stuff like that. Whereas what this film is doing is it's saying that this man has been fighting all his life for survival. He's obviously an alcoholic, takes drugs, and he's been barely staying above water. And what has happened is he finally finds someone he loves so much that he thinks his addictions and the way he's been is going to stop her from having the kind of career and being the authentic kind of artist he thinks she can be. And so he kills himself. I'm not quite sure if the message is very clear here because it is almost saying, well, this is a winning strategy when it obviously isn't. She's totally in love with him. And there's a whole scene at the end where she sings about that love, which was a song he wrote for her during rehab. But in terms of the melodrama, it does work because we know that this relationship is too incredible and something is going to stop it. And in this case, it's Bradley Cooper taking his own life. Look, this film is a really good film. I've kind of really talked about all the things that I wanted to talk about. It's got a pacing problem. There's a couple of scenes which either needed to be cut out in the second act, or there's a scene when she goes on to Saturday Night Live, Lady Gaga, and it seems like there's some missing plot because she's gone from quite an authentic kind of singer to singing this kind of stupid song about, you know, texting and having sex and all that. And there seems like there's a big gap where someone's given her a speech like, if you do this, you'll be a megastar. And the reason why I say that's missing is because then when Bradley Cooper is talking to her about being an authentic artist, it seems like there should have been this corresponding reason as to why she was like this. Film is a good film. I think you really should go see it with, this would be a great film to see with someone who's seen the originals, or especially if you've got like teenagers who are into music, and you know, everyone will have a bit of a cry at the end. Okay, look, that's it for today. Next week, I can tell you 100% Halloween, the 2018 remake. I watched the original Halloween with my son last night. I'm going to talk about that as well. And if you like what I'm doing, like. If you like seeing all my stuff, subscribe. Makes it a lot easier. Hit the bell, then you know when I got new stuff. It's normally weekly. And I'm on Twitter at Guru Eden. I'll talk to you then. Bye.